Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is non-messianic conversations. This is our Tuesday Bible briefing, the 10th of February 2026. Okay, I'll be my topic for discussion is they're building 23 concentration camps. So I'm gonna shine a light on that, talk about it a little bit. Okay. Uh, you can go to our YouTube channel, the Non-Messianic Conversations. Check out our videos. We have over 100 or so, 200 or so videos that you can look at, examine, get the meat out, okay? And for is our Tuesday Bible study, Tuesday Bible briefing. It's every Tuesday, 7 to 9 uh, Central Time, okay? So if you want to check it out, engage with us on Tuesdays for our Bible briefing, you're more than welcome to do so, okay? So for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic conversation, a non-Messianic channel, and we deal with the Tanakh and the Torah, Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Savior and our Redeemer, or the Lord of Hosts, okay? This channel was created to aid and assist all Hebrews who are waking up to their true identity and understanding who their Savior and their Redeemer truly is. Okay, shalom and welcome to the channel, and welcome to our Tuesday Bible briefing. Okay, we're gonna do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, psalms. We have some need to know information. Then we'll open it up for some Q&A, questions, comments, any dialogue or any testimonies, and then we're going to our Tuesday Bible briefing, which is consists of us dealing with the news, the current events, and tying into our Israel's end time prophecies. Okay, making the connections, and then we'll pick a scripture like we normally do. We'll read that scripture, break it down, and then we'll close out like we normally do. Okay. So with that being said, this moment of silence is for the Lord of Hosts and all that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in His last days. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto Thee. Therefore, we come before Thee at this hour, seeking our face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before Thee as our servants David and Solomon, Samuel, and Hezekiah did, okay, that we may walk before Thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad, for we know You possess the power to turn us. And we desire to walk after Thee, O Lord, and to keep Your commandments and Your testimony and Your statutes with all our heart and our soul, to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by Your prophets. O Lord, allow Thy face to shine upon Thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord, and hide not Thy face from us any longer, for we need You so very much in these trying times. Peace be unto You. Okay? So with that being said, I'm going to read a song right quick. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to read Psalm 10. It's a prayer for the overthrow of the wicked. It says, why standest thou far off, O Lord? Why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble? The wicked in his pride do persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. For the wicked boasted of his heart's desire, and blessed the covetous, whom the Lord abhorred. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. His ways are always grievous. His judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursings and deceit. and fraud under his tongue is mischief and vanity. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages, in the secret places doeth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privately set against the poor. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. Yeah, he doeth catch the poor when he draweth him out into his net. He croucheth, he humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. He hath said in his heart, God hath forgotten. He hideth his face, and he will never see it. Arise, O Lord, O God, and lift up thine hand. Forget not the humble. Wherefore doeth the wicked contempt God. He hath said in his heart, thou wilt not requite it. Thou hast seen it, for thou beholdest mischief and spite to requite it with thy hands. The poor committed himself unto thee. Thou art the helper of the fatherless. Break thou the arm of the wicked, and the evil man seeketh out his wickedness till thou find none. The Lord is king forever and ever. The heathens are perished out of the land. Lord, thou hast heard the desires of the humble. Thou wilt prepare their hearts. Thou wilt cause thine ear to hear, to judge the fatherless and the oppressed, that the man of the earth may no more oppress. So that was Psalm 10, right? Okay, so in reading that, it reminded me of what happened to us in through the transatlantic slave trade. He says that the wicked, which is Esau, part of the wicked, he says, he sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places doeth he murder the innocent. His eyes is privately set against the poor. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den, and he lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doeth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. He croucheth and humbleth himself, that a poor may fall by his strong ones. So that's exactly what happened to us during time with transatlantic slave trade on the west coast of Africa, over in Negro land. Okay? Any comments on that? Okay. So with that being said, like I said, we on Tuesday night, we're dealing with our Tuesday night Bible briefing, and my objective is to connect dots and bring everybody up to par with what's happening with current events and how they tie it to our Israelite end time and our deliverance. Okay, so with that being said, I'm gonna go to I got a couple of topics I'm gonna talk about right here. Some need to know information. Got a couple of topics. Here we go.
So there was a story that went mega viral of this little kid named Liam, who was basically kidnapped and abducted by ICE Gestapo thugs. And he was sent multiple states over, and he was being held in one of these horrific facilities. He got sick because the food they were given was like moldy and had worms in it and shit like that. And this was yet another example of the Trump regime kidnapping people. And they've done this a number of times, hundreds or thousands of times. Kids have been taken by these ICE Gestapo thugs, okay? Well, of course, there was a lawsuit to push back against this, and a judge has now intervened in the clearest way I've ever seen. So look at this from Kyle Cheney here. Judge Bieri has ordered the release of 5-year-old Liam Ramos, who became a symbol of ICE's aggression in Minnesota. So here's a quote from the judge. Ready? The case has its genesis in the ill-conceived and incompetently implemented government pursuit of daily deportation quotas, even if it requires traumatizing children. By the way, this is Liam with his cute little hat. He became a real symbol because look how adorable he looks and how innocent he looks. And he was kidnapped by these thugs. Okay, ready? Never seen a ruling like this. So the judge continues, quote, observing human behavior confirms that for some of us, the perfidious lust for unbridled power and the imposition of cruelty in its quest know no bounds and are bereft of human decency and the rule of law be damned. He's going in like only a judge can. Okay. So he was ordered released. 5-year-old Liam Coneo Ramos. Judge Barry warned of vast lawlessness and inhumanity in the Trump administration's mass deportation efforts. He said courts amounted to a judicial finger in the dike. In other words, fascism is here and we're doing all we can, but there's only so much we can do because we don't have the judicial police to effectively enforce our rulings. So he was released, right? Sent home. And then now the Trump regime filed something to try to arrest him again. Arrest the fucking 5-year-old again. I wish I was kidding. I'm not kidding. That is how depraved these people are. Depraved. Take a look at this. Washington Post says more than 34,000 Minnesotans signed up to be trained as ICE observers with various activist groups in recent weeks, many of them since January 7th, when a federal agent shot and killed Renee Good. So when Renee Good got shot and killed, more Minnesotans said, fuck this, I'm stepping up to the plate. I'm going to monitor these motherfuckers. I'm going to observe them. This is brave. And it's brave because, as we were told, they're literally taking pictures of people and throwing you in a database as a domestic terrorist if you are observing them, which is your constitutional right. But they're considering you a domestic terrorist under NSPM 7. So these people are brave and they're doing the most American thing imaginable. More. Federal agents were told this week that they have broader power to arrest people without a warrant, according to an internal ICE memo reviewed by the New York Times. The change expands the ability of lower-level ICE agents to carry out sweeps rounding up people they encounter and suspect are undocumented immigrants, rather than targeted enforcement operations in which they set out, warrant in hand, to arrest a specific person. So this smells like Stephen Miller up and down, bro. This is Stephen Miller sending out an internal memo saying, I am giving you the authority to arrest whoever you want without a warrant. Well, guess what, Stephen Miller? You don't override the Constitution of the United States of America, motherfucker. You Nazi Jewish little bitch. He's a Jewish Nazi. Make that make sense. This is him. It has his fingerprints all over it. In the same way that it's Stephen Miller who ordered, hey, use administrative warrants instead of judicial warrants. So when you try to violate people's Fourth Amendment rights and enter their house and they don't want you in there, say you have a warrant, but it's an administrative warrant, not a judicial warrant. So it doesn't really count, but we're going to try to trick them and pretend like it counts. And they made that the policy and then fired anybody who chimed in and said, hey, that's unconstitutional. They are systematically violating the law and violating the Constitution. And that's why I keep insisting all of these people need to be locked up. We need to have mass trials. They need to be locked up, and they need to be locked up for a long period of time, because this is completely and utterly unacceptable. It's one thing to break the law. It's another thing to break the law and know that you're breaking the law, but continue to break the law. They are choosing to ignore the Constitution. They're choosing to issue memos to order direct violations of the supreme law of the land. This is not in the realm of the possible. Okay? Stephen Miller needs to be locked up. All these ICE thugs need to be locked up. They don't have the authority to even do basic traffic stops. ICE has been doing traffic stops this entire time, throughout this entire mission. They don't even have the right to do that. They don't even have the right to do that. Never mind arrest people without a warrant. Never mind enter on somebody's property without a warrant. This is fucking grotesque what we're looking at here. It's a war on the American way. All the good parts about this country. Utah auto body shop owner. So he goes to his auto body shop and he finds out, wait, what the fuck? It looks like ICE just fucking broke in to my auto body shop. And then listen to the back and forth that happens here, because this is insane. And this is another one for the next Nuremberg trials. Here we go. Listen.
Look at this. Look at these. Where's your guys' warrant? Where's your guys' warrant? No, where's your warrant? Where's the warrant? Where's the warrant? Yes, you do. Where's the warrant? You guys do this? For what?
These people need to be locked up. When they say we don't need a warrant, no, you absolutely do. You're on their property, in their business. You need a fucking warrant. Jesus Christ. Guys, half the motherfucking agents don't even know that they're breaking the law and they're violating the Constitution. They don't know. So what they're doing is they're mass hiring anybody and everybody. They're hiring fucking Proud Boys and January 6ers and white nationalists. Okay? These people, some of them know and don't care, and others just don't even know. Hey, I have a gun and a badge. I get to do whatever the fuck I want. They think that's how it works. A Minnesota resident says her global entry and TSA pre-check privileges were revoked just days after she observed immigration agents. In a court filing, she states an agent told her she was identified using facial recognition technology. So they are incorrectly spying on Americans who are just exercising their constitutional rights. They're putting them in a database. They're considering them domestic terrorists. And that has real world consequences where, as you can see in this instance, global entry and TSA pre-check privileges were revoked because of that. There's going to be such a colossal lawsuit when all this is said and done. It's going to be legendary. Border Patrol employee arrested in Minnesota after being found passed out in a car covered in vomit. Because that's who these people are. They commit domestic violence. They're fucking drunks on the job. This is a sick joke. All right, this one is crazy. Pregnant woman shot in the stomach at an ICE protest with so-called less than lethal bullet. Shot in the stomach and she's pregnant. Watch this. So that's the aftermath that we're looking at here. Absolutely disgusting. Dear ICE agents, I hope you're respectful to everyone and show kindness. We should treat all people the same, even if we don't know them. So this one is incredibly sad. The classmates of Liam Ramos sent a message to ICE. Watch.
Dear Immigration and Custom Enforcement.
Dear ICE. Hey ICE. Dear ICE agents. Dear ICE agents, I hope you're respectful to everyone and show kindness. I also hope you respect all people from all different countries and around the world. I think as a community, we should respect people's homes and the people themselves. These
1,000 immigrants in warehouses. The Trump administration aims to build 7 large-scale holding centers to speed up deportations, internal ICE documents show. The DHS has been actively purchasing large industrial warehouses in multiple states, including Maryland and Arizona, to convert them into massive immigration detention facilities. 1,500 plus people in a new warehouse in Maryland, 1,500 plus more in Arizona, 7,500 plus planned for Missouri, 8,500 plus in a warehouse in Texas, among the largest U.S. jails of any kind, 80,000 plus total once all the sites are complete. DHS has been quietly buying massive warehouses with the explicit purpose of warehousing people. It's here now. They're building the camps. In total, they're looking at 23 different concentration camps is what they're building. And guys, we've seen what this looks like. We've been through it before. They've praised on record CCOT, the El Salvadoran concentration camp, where people are raped, people are tortured, people have no rights whatsoever. We also have Alligator Alcatraz. Remember that? Thankfully, that was shut down by court order. But it was a horror show. If it rained, the place would fucking flood. Okay, there was mold everywhere. The AC didn't work right. It was fucking 80 degrees in there. People would pass out. There were hunger strikes happening. It was a mess. It was a mess. It was a literal concentration camp is what it was. And the thing that was most disgusting is they took pride in how evil it was. They took pride. They would brag about how evil it is. Well, now we have 23 different concentration camps that are propping up all across the U.S. This needs to be snuffed out in the crib, bro. I want to see 1,000 lawsuits. I want to see it shut down. I want the people who are engaged in building it to fucking grow a conscience. People should be protesting and blocking the construction materials from showing up to finish these things. This is unacceptable. And by the way, you are fucking naive if you think, oh, they're only going to go after immigrants with this stuff. First of all, they told us originally, oh, it's only undocumented immigrant violent criminals. That's a lie. Literally 95% of the people they're going after have no criminal record whatsoever. That's point number one. Point number two is, even if you think, oh, they're just going to stop at immigrants in general, that's not true either. Not only are they going to go after legal immigrants, they're going to go after Americans. They already shot 2 fucking Americans and murdered them on camera from 17 different angles, and none of those people are arrested, by the way, right? They're going to go after dissenters. Look at NSPM 7. Look at what they consider terrorist or terrorist adjacent, okay? They're going to go after anybody who's not MAGA is subject to be put in these fucking camps. We live in a country where they arrested a retired cop and locked him up for 37 days because he posted a Charlie Kirk meme. I'm not kidding about that. Look it up.
My name's Ian Austin. They're targeting me because I just left 25 million streams yesterday. I was at the church. They want to turn me into a fucking terrorist.
You were at the church?
It's fucking insane.
So he also covered the church protests like Don Lemon did and like the other journalist Georgia did. And they got locked up as well. They got arrested as well. They're targeting journalists on purpose. They're trying to criminalize journalism for exposing the ICE Gestapo thugs. Breaking from MS Now, the Trump administration is now eyeing Ohio for immigration enforcement operations that could begin as early as next week. The operation is expected to target Haitian immigrants with temporary protected status for Haiti, expiring on February 3rd, one of the people familiar with the matter told MS Now. So it's actually not true that, their protected status is expiring February 3rd. Trump tried to make that the case. Courts intervened and said, you actually cannot make that the case. They are still protected. And they go, we don't care. We're going to go after them anyway. So what we're looking.
Okay. What you think, bro?
Shalom, Brother Leonard. With at the beginning when they spoke about the concentration camps, I mean that reminded me of Pastor Manning all the way.
Oh yeah, that in Kenyatta playing.
Right, exactly. Yes, sir.
And that's the crazy part about it. What people ain't understanding, what the setup, which I was sitting there thinking about it, man. It didn't got me. I got to go to another level. But I was sitting there. You got Rex 84, right?
Right.
You know what Rex 84 is, right?
Rex said with the Hispanics.
Yeah, they amended. They amended
Right.
King Alfred plan, which is for the African Americans. They amended it in 1984. Rex 84 is for the Hispanics, the migrants. But you notice, like I was saying, during the Reagan administration, during Biden, they set all this up. They had all these Mexicans brought over here. See what I'm saying? So they set it up. Now we looking at it. Now, like the dude just said now, and then they had all this propaganda out there about the Walmarts and all that is going to be used as concentration camps. And here we go, we right here, right back. We made a mass circle. And like the guy said, it ain't just the immigrants. They gonna, when it's all over with, it's gonna be everybody they going after, right?
Right, exactly.
We seeing it. It's unfolding, man. We in crunch time. Check this out. This right here directly tied to the handmaiden. Check it out. I don't know if you know about this or not.
President Donald Trump is doubling down with a threat to shut down a multi-billion-dollar bridge between the U.S. and Canada before it even opens. As Mike Emanuel reports, the bridge dispute comes amid tensions over tariffs.
As the tariff war heats up, President Donald Trump is talking tough on Canada. The president's pushing the Canadian government ahead of trade talks by threatening to block the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge, which connects Detroit to Windsor, Ontario.
Yeah, remember in the movie, they had problems getting from Canada to America.
Right. Yes, sir.
And they had to go through that we talked about the other day. We had to go through that little, what they call a wilderness in between America and Canada.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
He wrote on social media, quote, "I will not allow this bridge to open until the United States is fully compensated for everything we have given them," and referenced an impending trade deal between Canada and China, which he opposes. But on Tuesday, the White House reframed the president's threat, saying it's all about leveling the playing field.
The United States needs to make sure that it has its fair share of any proceeds from that bridge and the economic activity that it generates.
President Trump says both sides will enter negotiations immediately, but it will be difficult to separate the bridge issue from the broader renegotiation of the U.S., Mexico, Canada.
Got anything on that? Okay.
Brother Leonard, when it said, what did it say about Mexico?
Canada trade deal expected later this year. The president says the tariffs have put the U.S. in a good position ahead of the talks.
I think we have the greatest economy actually ever in history. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. That's said by everybody.
But Democrats say that's not true, pointing out America's traditional partners are now signing new deals to pivot away from trade with the U.S.
They've pushed back hard on the tariffs that are being imposed on their products that are exported into our market.
That was Mike Emanuel reporting. House Democrats are trying to force a vote on repealing Canada tariffs. Republicans say they'll block it. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
Okay. I guess so.
So brother Leonard, this sound like I remember a few weeks ago or a month ago when we was just playing clips about just Canada having problems with America, period. You know, due to part of the trade war actually. So, but now it's like you said, everything's happening so fast. Now it's with them stopping that bridge. I mean that, you know, because they're also, that's a part of the trade war too. They can't decide who's gonna get paid from the taxes.
Exactly.
You know, Trump trying to say we deserve to get the money. Period.
Exactly. Yeah. So here we go. Right, this just some real extra information tied to what I was just talking about. Okay. Yeah, let me see if I can find. Yeah, here you go. Here we go.
A partial government shutdown appears more likely as Democrats have rejected the latest proposal from Republicans regarding Homeland Security funding. We're going to break down what comes next and what DHS's near future looks like as the Hill's House leadership reporter, Emily Brooks. Hey, Emily. So Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries put out a statement last night which heavily criticized the Republican proposals as incomplete and insufficient. What are they demanding moving forward, and how are Republicans responding?
Well, I think the really big question here is what the White House sent back as a counteroffer to Democrats. Both sides are being pretty tight-lipped on what exactly those are. But what we do know is a major sticking point between Republicans and Democrats is the demands from Democrats for enhanced warrant requirements to require judicial warrants rather than administrative warrants for immigration officials to go into people's homes and obtain people for deportation proceedings. And that is a non-starter for Republicans. It's a major ask for Democrats. And so that's going to be difficult to thread that needle. But, you know, we are Tuesday here. Government funding for DHS expires on Friday. And there is talk about, well, the Senate is preparing a package to move on short-term funding, temporary funding. We don't know exactly the length of that yet, but that is one option. That's a fallback option. Unclear if that could pass, though, due to opposition from Democrats. And so what all of this is meaning is that we're really barreling towards a likely DHS shutdown unless they can come to an agreement with the White House very quickly here.
Yeah, I imagine there's substantial pressure on Democrats not to vote for another continuing resolution. You mentioned that deadline is Friday for DHS funding. If a shutdown does take place, how will that impact the Department of Homeland Security? And you have Republicans saying that ICE won't actually be affected. Is there truth to that?
There is truth to that. So ICE got a major influx of funding in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that President Trump signed into law, that Republican legislation last year. They got an influx of billions of dollars that should last about 4 years. And so that is, something that Republicans keep on bringing up. They're saying they're not actually defunding ICE. They're just defunding all of these other important agencies under DHS that will actually affect real Americans if the funding for those does lapse. This is TSA agents, FEMA, the Coast Guard. Those are the really big areas that Republicans keep pointing to. And so there is some sort of a question about whether Democrats would agree to move funding to just fund those critical agencies while waiting on ICE official funding and Customs and Border Protection. So there's some question there. However, that does leave them with less leverage in these funding negotiations if they fund part of DHS and not the others, because, like we just said, ICE is already funded. White House, there has been reporting in some other outlets about who is exactly doing what. Why are Border Patrol agents assisting in interior enforcement and not on the border? There's a lot going on there. But certainly, if they do provide some answers that could say we have changed this practice. We have moved people we've moved agents away from Minneapolis. We have changed our practices on this and that. We support body cameras, things like that. Potentially, those are things that maybe more centrist Democrats could point to and say, well, if we can't get legislation on a deal for some of these certain things in law and in writing, they could point to that to say well, they're confident in the administration changing those policies. That's a lot. That's pretty theoretical, though, and I don't think the Democrats, at least right now at this stage, are in any real mood to give any concessions to Republicans, especially in light of this testimony. Batting down the White House counterproposal, they said that they wanted more information from the White House. And so that's an indication that they're not necessarily at a stalemate. And the fact that there is some communication happening is a positive sign for negotiations and for them getting to an ultimate resolution. So that's what to look out for. I think if Democrats back away from demands for those judicial warrant requirements, or if they ramp those up, that could be pretty critical for whatever prospects there are for a deal. And if there are things, of course, we're going to be waiting to hear from the White House and what they say specifically about what they can and cannot accept. That's going to be pretty important as well. So there's a lot to go, but it is pretty interesting negotiations since this is happening between the White House and Senate Democrats, and a lot of like House lawmakers, House Republicans, and even Senate Republicans are largely being cut out of this, and they're just sitting back waiting to say, okay, White House, if you can figure this out, we'll try and get to yes for you.
Okay. So what you think?
Shalom, Brother Leonard, when they just the part when they said ICE is already funded, even to me, it appears they got a different objective, than what's the face value. Because even in the clip earlier, how you said they doing traffic stops and traffic stops, and they ain't supposed to have authority to do that. But I've been seeing them do that, the whole time, on social media. So just who they're funded by.
Right. Yeah. What I peeped out is, you can attest to this. You have. It's like you can have a big gathering in the park, blacks everywhere. When the cops came, everybody stopped moving. Right. Same shit with the New Testament. Same shit with the New Testament. You got people talking about this ain't this, JC ain't this, JC ain't that, but when they come with the the Cardinals and the goddamn mega pastors come, everybody flocking to Jesus. You know what I'm saying? It's the same setup. Brainwashing. It's a brainwashing. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't even be done nothing, and it goes all the way back to, like you said, where does the state trooper and the police and all that, where it originate from? It originated from they were slave patrols, right?
Yes, sir.
So the same thing now. You freeze up now. You ain't did shit, but you freeze up when the cops come. You gotta be mentally conscious of that, because you just automatically freeze up. You see the damn cop, and that's from centuries of the cruelty and the stuff that issued out against us. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you gotta be conscious of that. You gotta be conscious of that. So anyway, based off what I was just the last couple of videos, like I've been saying, the midterms coming. So everything you see what these people doing, they got to get done for the midterm. Check this out.
Trump White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, News Nation contributor, joins us now. The only one question, Mick, that I was thinking about, I wanted to ask you about this, is kind of a practical one from your time as Chief of Staff. We used to hear that the president himself handled his social media posts like late at night and early in the morning. Were you ever aware of a time when a staffer would have access to or be posting from the president's account, again, late at night or early
midterms in November?
Not at late at night. Typically, there'd be one other staffer, Dan Scavino, who very often posted on the president.
Like what boy just said. Look what they just did when they posted that bullshit about Obama. Okay, so with all that and everything that's going on,
X account. I understand there's
they
one
got about
staffer
8
now
months.
This second
So you're gonna see
administration,
some shit.
Natalie, somebody who I don't know as well, who also might have access to his account. But that being said, that would be during business hours. My understanding is that this was posted at 11:44 at night. So sort of the default setting amongst anybody would be that this was the president himself. By the way, I'm having difficulty with the video, but I got to ask you, Colin, did you show the picture?
Did we show it on the air? That's a good question, Claudine. Did we show it on the air earlier? Because we talked about it. Our show has not. No, our show has not shown it on the air.
Exactly.
I didn't know.
Because it's so offensive. Think about it. It's so offensive. We won't put it on the air.
It's very offensive. I mean, I obviously watched it like everyone else did. By the way, the only reason I asked Claudine is just to make sure, because sometimes something would flash up at the earlier, when I wasn't watching. But no, I watched it. I think. But finish your point about the offensive.
My point is this: is that we won't show it, and I respect that, and I agree with that decision. But people are going to see it. This ad is going to be replayed in every single one of the House races going into
the midterm.
First thing that came to my mind after I got over the shock of this is, oh my goodness.
So they're going to tell you think they're doing shit. Watch what's going to happen now. When the midterms make it, their ass out.
Damage control here today. We talked maybe a little bit about what they should be doing, but there's been a lot of damage done. It's going to take
not great though, Mick. At all. Caroline Levitt's not great in terms of damage control, was it? Basically saying, hey, there's more important things for you guys to talk about in the media. And my response to something like that, and there's supposed to be, yes, we know, and we're talking about them. We've talked about all the big stories today: the stock market at 50,000 and the Iran negotiations. But people are also talking about this. It's not an either or, I guess, is my point.
It isn't. And of course, that initial statement seems to imply that it was the president. It was the second statement they put out. They said, oh, by the way, it was just a staffer. Look, let me put my old chief of staff hat on for a second, because it's entirely possible this was a staffer. There are other people in the White House who do have access to the president's Twitter or social media accounts. But if I'm the chief of staff, I'm coming out today on television, I'm saying, look, it was a staffer. This is the staffer. I would name the staffer. And this staffer is no longer working here.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I would go to the president and tender my resignation, offer to resign. Because if you're the chief of staff and the staff is doing this, then you have a problem amongst your staff. That's how you handle this situation. You should be talking today, Kyle, to your point, about the stock market at 50,000, about the Trump RX, the new prescription medicine and stuff, about the stuff overseas. This is clearly a self-inflicted wound that's been handled. You couldn't handle it any more badly than they have.
No, it's interesting that you attend to your resignation as chief of staff. What do you make of the market, by the way? I was asking our guest when we were closing out about we always do interviews about these round numbers. And you say, does it matter? And John Bussey from the Wall Street Journal was on. I said, yeah, a lot of times it does to people. So I wonder, absent this conversation, how much it matters to see the Dow close above 50,000 today.
It does matter. It matters to folks who have 401k and retirement accounts, and that's
okay. What you think about that? Like I say, the midterm coming. These people don't stand no kind of chance in the midterm.
What? Shalom. I'm sorry, brother Leonard.
Wait.
I just gonna say that the pressure is making sense, because I keep forgetting about the midterms, and what's that, in November?
November. That's about 8-9 months from now.
Right.
Right. So whatever they got going on, they call themselves destroying everything had to do with us, because that's what it's all about. So it's got to be done before November. Right. Like the guy just said, they really stuck their head in an apple barrel when they put that shit out about Obama. Cause ain't nobody, and they through. Like the guy said, they gonna play that over and over again during the midterms. Every campaign, every video they put out, election video, they're gonna have it on there. They through. They got whatever they're gonna do. They got to ramp it up now. So you finna see some stuff. Oh yeah. Okay. So with that being said, I open it up for anybody with any questions or comments in the dialogue. Got anything you came across you want to talk about? Dots you need connected? Anybody got anything?
Shalom, brother Leonard. I wanted to say too, one thing about with the I had seen about with ICE, they were saying that they were having access to people's the doorbell cam, but I was seeing specifically Ring camera. They were saying some kind of way they're giving permission to be able to use people doorbell cams. But specifically I seen that it was the Ring cameras.
Right, that's AI, ain't it?
Oh yes, sir. I'm sure it is on the
Right,
back end of it.
Right. We just saw the video where they came into the dude shop, garage, without a warrant. So like I said, you finna see some stuff. They got about 9 months. There ain't no way they're gonna get past the midterm election. They got to be total desolation in order for them to keep going after the midterms. So in order to bring about in order to finish denigrating this democratic society, they finna really see some stuff. That's why you're seeing all these damn warships all over the place. They finna really decimate some stuff. You ain't seen nothing what he done last year. They finna really go in. Okay. And then they trying to impeach him too. You got to do something about that. Like I said, I was watching the video, came across some information the other day about how the government they started back with like I said, the women's lib thing. Those two Jewish, they started out with 3 Jewish women, and then that ain't work. They try to inject what we're looking at now with what's going on with the women. How out of control they are. They started with some Jewish women, it didn't work. Then they got a black woman with them, a singer. Then that's when they caught to where it's at now. Yeah, everything out of control when it comes to the women. But at the same time too, the federal government through the Democrats, all these black women had they had access to all these jobs, federal jobs, and they had access to money as far as why you say that entrepreneurship. It was like, if I'm not mistaken, what I heard was something like $80 billion was being generated by black women, entrepreneur women. That's what they attacked. That's what Project 2025 attacked. Because that's what got Obama in the White House, and that's what they thought was gonna get which, like I said, they hoodwinked the election, but that's what they was gonna get Kamala Harris in there. And so when Trump got in there, that's what he dismantled. All that's being dismantled. And they ain't finished. Like I said, when you get to, but if they let it make it to midterms, they ain't gonna make it. So they gotta do something before we get to the midterm. And and the only thing got left is the military industrial complex. That's why you see warships everywhere. They're gonna finish decimating this place like they did through war. Okay, that's how they're gonna do it. Okay, and like I said with the protests, that's another way. That's another way of the new war. It ain't about boots on the ground no more. Okay, it's we got a new way to having warfare, and these, like I said, these protests, creating these protests, going in and causing protests. Okay, so yeah, that's what we're looking at. So it's gonna really intensify. So you might as well tie your shoes up. Okay. So you got anything on that?
Shalom, no sir.
Okay. So yeah. So where I'm at now for this I'm in my Tuesday Bible briefing, my Bible and news briefing. I got a few. What I'm doing is my objective for this class every Tuesday night is to bring about the connection between our Israelites, being Hebrew Israelites, and us waking up and connecting the dots for our prophecies that the prophets talked about and that the Lord of hosts talked about, and connecting them and bringing them to the light. Okay, not their prophecies, not the New Testament, but the real scriptures. It's not. And connecting the current events to that. This is what this Tuesday night is all about. So here we go.
Hang on, wait a second. Wait just a damn second. Epstein was openly commenting on Fortnite.
Tie your shoes up. Check this out.
Epstein was openly commenting on Fort Knox. Hang on, wait a second. Wait just a damn second. Epstein was openly commenting on Fort Knox's lack of gold. And
Epstein, get that from me.
And this sick pedophile claims he was on a payphone from his jail cell with the head of Bear Stearns and JP Morgan while the 2008 collapse was happening in real time, giving advice to these sick people tied directly to the Bush's U.S. Treasury Secretary team. He made a collect call to Bear Stearns and then his second call to JP Morgan.
How did you hear about what was going to happen to Lehman Brothers? And what
this
did you think when you heard there was going to be put into bankruptcy?
I'm glad you asked that question. I was in solitary confinement. You can dial a number, and when the person picks up, they say, "You're getting a call from the Palm Beach County Jail. Will you accept reverse charges?" The person I called was Jimmy Kane, the president of Bear Stearns.
You're in jail now.
And I said, "Tell me what's going on." The question you want to ask is, who was the other call to?
Who was the other call to?
The other call was to my friend at JP Morgan, who was then, I didn't know it at the time, trying to buy Bear Stearns. So at one point, I had two phones. It was difficult because they're afraid people are going to hang themselves with the phone cord. So they don't actually come together when they're pretty short. So I was actually going between two phones talking to Bear Stearns and JP Morgan at the same time. So I found it amusing.
So he found that amusing. And if you didn't know, that was Epstein talking. He in jail, you got two phones. If you've been, average black person been to jail. Now he got two phones in each year, two of the most powerful men in the world, but he in lockdown. So you say, what are you talking about? Well, goddamn, Trump got 32 felonies. He's the president. Let that firm make, okay?
Really just gives you some deep insight into the peak globalization kind of stuff that was running our government. These globalists accepted a pedophile's phone call from solitary confinement to help with the banking collapse. That's how out to lunch these people were. Like, get Epstein on the phone from prison. By the way, does that sound like a guy who commits suicide? I mean, hearing him, he's kind of like laughing and hell no, this guy didn't commit suicide. Plenty of evidence this pedophile is still alive today, actually. The body's switched out at the correctional facility. Another person entering his cell, now that we see the video. Is he alive and well, living in Israel somewhere? Well, the body they found hanging in the cell was not Epstein at all, clear as day. That's pretty darn clear at this point, actually. And this morning, we now know that the news that was used was also swapped out. So I wasn't convinced, but now I'm fully convinced that this guy is alive and well. And I mean, when you just thought the Epstein files couldn't possibly have anything more shocking to share, we even had Epstein's admission about this gold at Fort Knox part of the story. This guy had his dirty little mitts in everything.
Everything.
And the globalists allowed all of it. So buckle up, because we have a lot to unpack as it relates.
So like I was saying, go to the Lord of the Rings, Smeagol. Like I said, you gotta reverse it. That's the inside. Smeagol is the insides. Okay.
To everything happening right now with the US dollar. China's big moves this week are gold reserves, what's left of it if we have any, Trump's precious metals vault plan that he just announced this week, and the total globalist collapse we are witnessing. Heck, we even have the collapse of the British government as we speak, all tied to Epstein, all tied to this whole story. So we're going to get to all of that. So what was Epstein admitting about the gold at Fort Knox? Because a lot of people are going to run with one headline and just run with it. Don't do that. You separate what the files actually show from what people want them to prove about a particular story. So on the Fort Knox angle, what's circulating isn't Epstein confessing that he personally verified missing gold. What's in the Epstein-related materials is a forwarded 2011 email referencing a sensational claim that Fort Knox is empty. So this was years before we had this move by Elon Musk and Donald Trump to audit Fort Knox. Empty, gone. This was being shared with Epstein and his friends, pointing out that yes, the vault is actually empty, that the government sold off vast quantities of gold and never refilled it. So what did Epstein actually know about this? What did his billionaire friends believe? Well, they believed there was nothing really there, that it was empty, that it was all fake.
Right.
And of course, the official position.
And that's what I'm saying about what people not understanding. Where it's embarrassing now with the Lord of hosts pouring His Spirit out on the Hebrew Israelites, like he said, just like they know the vault in Fort Knox is empty, they know who JC is. He's a joke to them. But you got to deal with these Negroes over here trying to make them understand who JC is. You got to go in 5, 10 years. You got to wait them out, walk the dog with them, and get the half-ass, get them to understand that when they already know who JC is. They know he was concocted. Okay, just like they know it ain't no gold in America.
Holds about 147 million ounces of gold. With the Treasury Secretary saying, hey, don't worry about it. Scott Benson saying, don't worry about it. The gold is accounted for through audits. Nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. Just move along. Can we see it actually? No. Like Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. Can he see it?
Well, you know, I've been trying to go down and see the gold, make sure it's all there for about 10 years.
What about that like live stream that we were going to see from the vault itself? Elon Musk was going to live stream it as part of the Doge revelations. No. Not going to happen. President Trump was going to fly there and see it himself. That didn't happen. Very curious, right? But here's why this matters anyway. It tells you what kind of narratives were circulating in the same circles where Epstein moved. Stories about power, money, what's real inside the system. Insane. Absolutely insane. And by the way, how many of you think we're going to see prosecutions? How many of you think we're going to see prosecutions in the United States? We're going to start to see Bill and Hillary Clinton testifying before Congress. Will any of them be prosecuted? Or all of these globalists just kind of get off scot-free because they're all being protected? Let me know down below. So that's the news update part of today's video. Now I want to tell you.
Okay, you got any feedback on that? Okay, keep going. So next topic.
Today's briefing focuses on a major demographic and political shift taking place inside the occupied Palestinian territories and Israel. The topic is direct. Why are increasing numbers of Jewish residents leaving the occupied lands? And what does this trend reveal about the current state of Zionism? This is not a discussion based on emotion. This is based on patterns, public data, and visible political reality. In recent months and years, a growing pattern has become increasingly difficult to ignore. More Jewish residents of Israel and the occupied lands are leaving to live abroad. This outward movement is not simply the normal travel or short-term relocation that has always existed in Israeli society. It is being discussed more openly as a measurable demographic and political shift. While Israel has historically experienced some level of emigration, the current trend appears more urgent, more visible, and more connected to deeper national concerns. One of the most important aspects of this development is that it is not limited to one social group. Reports and observations suggest that the people leaving include young professionals, families with children, dual citizens, and even individuals who previously described themselves as strongly committed to the Zionist project. In earlier decades, emigration from Israel was often framed as an economic choice or a lifestyle decision, with individuals seeking higher salaries, better housing opportunities, or more stable career paths abroad. Those factors still exist. However, what is different today is that outward migration is increasingly linked to a broader sense of uncertainty about the future. This trend has been reflected in multiple ways. Some foreign governments have reported increased applications for residency, citizenship, and work permits from Israeli nationals. In addition, demand for foreign passports, ancestry-based citizenship claims, and long-term relocation pathways has grown among segments of the population. The trend is not yet irreversible. Its visibility alone is politically significant. It signals that for a growing number of people, the idea of leaving is no longer unthinkable. It has become a realistic option, and for some, an urgent plan. A central driver behind the growing emigration trend is the security situation and the psychological exhaustion that comes with living under repeated cycles of conflict. For decades, the Israeli state promoted one core promise to its citizens and to Jewish communities worldwide, that the country would serve as a safe homeland, a place where Jews would no longer live under fear, persecution, or constant insecurity. That promise was not only political, it was emotional. It was a foundational argument for the Zionist project itself. However, in recent years, and especially since the escalation of war following October 7th, that promise has come under increasing strain. This freedom. Others feel alienated by what they perceive as cultural and moral decline. These divisions extend into debates about military policy, settlement expansion, relations with Palestinians, and Israel's place in the international system. For many citizens, the result is a sense that there is no longer a shared national vision. Political instability has also affected governance itself. Repeated elections, fragile coalitions, and short-lived governments have created a perception of dysfunction. When leadership changes frequently and policy direction shifts abruptly, it becomes difficult for citizens to plan their futures. This uncertainty affects everything from business investment to education and housing decisions. For individuals considering whether to build long-term lives in the country, political volatility acts as a strong deterrent. The war has not resolved these tensions. In many cases, it has intensified them. While conflict can sometimes create temporary unity, it can also expose deeper fractures, the remaining population. In addition, it can increase inequality between those who can leave and those who cannot. A society where the most skilled citizens exit during crisis often becomes less resilient, not more. The phenomenon also affects the ideological credibility of the state internationally. Zionism historically appealed to Jewish communities worldwide by presenting Israel as both a refuge and a national center.
Okay, got any feedback on that? It's you can see they leaving and we being regathered. And that's not scripture, according to the way they set it up. Any feedback?
Right, Shalom, brother. And I was gonna say that's not how I learned it. They supposed to have peace around this time, right?
Right. Like he said, that he was saying, a lot of them leaving because they confused about their safety, and that don't supposed to be. That's not part of the end time when it comes to whoever the true Israelites are. And the situation that they set up was 1948 was Israel returning to their homeland. So and none of that adding up. It's all falling apart because it's all a lie. Okay. And like I said before, go ahead.
I know.
You got something?
Oh, I'm sorry. I had cut you off. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I had a question about when Hitler was, because it kind of sounded like they're doing the you had mentioned didn't Hitler, didn't he plan to rule from, wasn't that part of his plan?
That was the objective to rule the world from Jerusalem for 1,000 years, but it was that it was flawed.
Right. Okay. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, son. And so here we are again. They're right back at it again. Like I said, these same people, how they talked about how the Illuminati bankers and how all these so-called American companies, they the one funded Hitler. The same people funded Napoleon, and the same one funded Trump. Same thing. Ain't nothing new under the sun when you understand what's going on. And like I said, they still want to rule the world. Part of the plan is to rule the world from Jerusalem. Okay. Check this out. Like I was saying, we gotta
Who always want to put
two
events.
You gotta know before it's over with, they're gonna attack what's going on over there in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. They're gonna attack it. Like I said, same thing they done to Black Wall Street and Rosewood. Ain't nothing different. Just it's on the other side of the pond.
Two stories that are currently developing in Africa involving the United States. On one side, I'm going to talk about the recent diplomatic moves, the recent return of the US to Mali, and by extension, the Alliance of Sahel States.
Now all of a sudden, they want back in the Sahel, and then they threaten it. Check it out.
I'm also going to talk about what is currently happening right now between the DRC, Rwanda, and the United States, because something very interesting.
And remember what Pastor Manny said, you're going to have Boule Negroes going to be the governors and the presidents over there.
Is actually happening there, and it is all connected to what the US is currently attempting to do with the Alliance of Sahel States. And when I put these two events together, we are going to understand that it is all the same game, the same strategy, and the same old playbook of neocolonialism, resource extraction, and then ultimately throwing the black brothers that sell out their fellow black men for the interest of the colonial masters, and then they themselves get thrown under the bus. So right now, it is all happening at the same time. Now, let me ask you a very important question. How do you walk back into someone else's house after they kick you out, and then you start setting the rules at the door? Think about it, because that is exactly what you are seeing right now in the Alliance of Sahel States. The United States, they are now coming back into Mali, and they are talking about reset and new partnership. But the blueprint allegedly says, dump Russia, return to constitutional order. Then we talk about security and money. And at the same time, in Central Africa, Rwanda, the long-time regional fixer, I like to call them the middlemen in the chaos that is currently happening in the DRC. They are suddenly facing fresh threats of sanctions from the United States. They are pressuring Rwanda and Paul Kagame, and a lot of public embarrassment is already ongoing.
Yeah.
Does that sound like a prosy being quietly pushed under the bus? Because that is exactly what it is looking like right now. And today we are going to unpack these two big stories that are actually one. How the US is trying to reinsert themselves into the affairs of Mali and the Alliance of Sahel States, and how Paul Kagame's Rwanda might be losing its value, its role as Washington's favorite enforcer and middleman in Congo's chaos. Let's start with Mali and the Alliance of Sahel States. The same revolutionary leaders that I always talk about on this channel, the same leaders that have already kicked out French troops and pushed aside Western influence, and they are now turning towards Russia and China. And then all of a sudden, a senior US official named Nick Checker, who is, by the way, a former CIA analyst, officially, the message this guy is bringing to the Sahel is usually soft and harmless when you read it in the media. We respect Mali's sovereignty. We want to move past previous policy missteps. We want a new course in the relationship between the United States and Mali. On paper, all of this is sounding humble, even apologetic. But listen closely to what is being reported behind closed doors, because according to Malian diplomatic sources quoted by ROFI and echoed by several Western media, conditions for full US involvement include a return to constitutional order and the end of contracts with Russia's Africa Corps. In other words, the US is simply saying, we admit we messed up. We admit you are a sovereign country. But if you want us back, change your political system and fire your current security partner. This doesn't sound like anything is going to change from the approach of the United States towards Africa anytime soon. Because
okay, what do you think?
Brother Leonard, the black winter, they just applying pressure.
Right. You said, yeah, they moved me in on. Exactly. So, and check this out. All of a sudden, all is going down. Okay, let me get it. Oh, man.
If you've been paying attention, you may have noticed something very interesting that was happening.
Check it out.
At the end of 2025. American companies aren't talking about their moves to the continent of Africa, but they're moving decisively.
Remember I told you back in 82, 83, back up in there, they moved, they went to China. Now all these companies that funded Hitler and funded Napoleon, okay, and they funded Trump. But check it out.
Companies like Walmart, which has had a presence, but is now officially in a brand recognition role here in South Africa. Companies like Canva, US infrastructure firms, and even US venture capital firms are decisively relocating to South Africa, Kenya, and even parts of West Africa, including Nigeria, as one of the main hubs. These aren't exploratory conversations. This isn't hype. This is actually happening. And these founders, executives, and investors are making an intentional bet on the growth of Africa. And so this is the key question that I want to leave you with. If serious American companies know about the growth and opportunities that are happening in Africa, what do they see that most executives don't? In this video, we're going to talk about it. Welcome to the channel. My name is Ashley Cleveland. I am a global wealth strategist focusing on working with smart money investors that are diversifying themselves across East, Southern, and West Africa with a due diligence strategy that most investors do not know exists. I guide.
So let's look at it. Let's look at this right quick. So Nebuchadnezzar and Nebuchadnezzar, and they came together. He said, you got the Smiths and all that, the priests and all them, and took them to Babylon. The rest of the people there, they was caught on the cross. See the sword and famine and pestilence and all that, they wiped them out. So the same thing they're gonna do now. They're gonna leave when they leave, when all these companies leave and they moved on somewhere else. Well, whoever left here, whoever throwed off and they still here, they ass out. Excuse my expression. That's how they work.
These founders, these entrepreneurs, and these investors through immigration, tax, investment, and estate protections so that they're protected once they enter into their desired African market. They're protected from day one with a on-the-ground strategy that works. It's essentially helped dozens of people directly and supported thousands of people traveling, moving, and doing business here on the continent of Africa. So if this type of content resonates with you, be sure to like this video and share it with someone who would find value in it. And subscribe if you want to join us. The community is growing. We're on a road to 100,000. But what's more important to me is that people are not only getting the value, but they're being pushed to take action. You guys know how I feel about action. So follow along if you're interested in learning more and taking action at the same time. I want to walk you through exactly why Africa is attracting American-based companies specifically, and what this shift means not only for you, but for smart leaders, founders who are positioning themselves ahead of the curve. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you don't have an Africa strategy, you don't have a growth strategy. So for all my tech firms, for all my fintech folks, even real estate developers, bankers, and any other industry with high growth opportunity, if you're not looking at the continent of Africa for growth,
exactly,
then you can expect to see decline in your business. Maybe not this year, but eventually, unless it's, corporate prisons, of course. I digress. So let's talk about what was happening in 2025 that no one saw. It wasn't about optimism.
Here's a fun one. Guys, pretend like you're holding up the building.
Okay.
Quiet things happening. Millions of people lost their jobs in America. And the ones that didn't are working for the firms that have eyes on the continent of Africa, because the barriers to entry are honestly still fairly low. People that were looking at China, people that were looking at going to India, well, those barriers are a bit higher, those costs are a bit larger, but still, African opportunities still exist at a very conservative price point compared to other markets with similar lifestyle opportunities, similar levels of high quality talent, and then of course, similar levels of market opportunities where there are deeper markets such as Nairobi, Kenya, or Johannesburg, South Africa. These are essentially the global hubs of commerce here on the continent of Africa. So what does that look like? What are American companies facing in the US that they're not facing here on the continent? Well, in the US, there is of course market saturation. There's all of this regulatory friction. There's a lot of requirements, the cost of labor, and also the political and supply chain volatility. If I was an employer in America, I would not want to have any employees either. You're constantly traumatized on a daily basis.
Yeah, they moving out.
This is not just doing business and, oh, I'm going to take my last $5,000, $13,000 invest in Africa. This is about strategy. So why waiting is ultimately your biggest risk? Well, let me tell you something that you probably don't want to hear. The biggest risk of entering into Africa is not entering correctly. It's not entering correctly, and it's entering too late.
Too late.
As I mentioned, folks that made purchases a year ago their property values have already increased, and they leverage their dollar to rand ratio, that value, and 20%. They're up 20% in a year on their investment, regardless of what their currency value is today, right? Or their equity.
This ain't to spook nobody, but just to show you how the Lord hosts work. Not JC, but how the Lord hosts work. Check this out. We in this during the time of when they was taken to Babylon. And it says right here, it says, I'm in Jeremiah. Okay, and I'm in 24, I think it is. Let me get it. Let me show you this right quick. You can do what you want with it. So this is the good and the bad fig. It says, the Lord showed me, and behold, 2 baskets of figs were set before the temple of the Lord. After that, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and we're looking at this right now, being set up, wholesale. You know, you can fumble with it or not. And you stay over in the New Testament and ride on that, but you're going to end up in the same predicament right here. It says, the Lord, after Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried away captive Jeconiah, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and the princes of Judah, and the princes of Judah with the carpenters and the smiths. I just talked about this from Jerusalem, man. They had brought them to Babylon. They relocated from one country to the next. One basket had very good figs. Check it out. Even like the figs that are first ripe. And the other basket had naughty figs. Can't tell them shit. They don't want to hear nothing. Which could not be eaten. They were so bad. Then said the Lord unto me, what seest thou, Jeremiah? And I said, figs, good figs, very good, and evil figs, right? That cannot be eaten. They are so evil. Now here we go. We go to breakdown. And the word of the Lord came again, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, like these good figs, so will I acknowledge them that are carried away captive to Judah, whom I have sent out of this place, into the land of the Chaldeans for their good. For I will set my face upon them for good, and I will bring them again to this land, and I will build them and not pull them down, and I will plant them and not pluck them up. Now here we go. And I will give them a heart to know me, that I am not JC. I will give them a heart to know me, that I am the Lord. See that? Not JC, that I am the Lord. And they shall be my people, and I will be their God, and they shall return unto me. Return unto me with their whole heart. And as for the evil fig, which cannot be eaten, can't tell them shit. They are so evil. Surely, thus says the Lord, so will I give Zedekiah, check it out, Zedekiah, the king of Judah, and his princes, and the residue of Jerusalem that remain, see that? That remain in this land, and them that dwell in the land of Egypt, and I will deliver them. Here you go. I will deliver them to be removed into the kingdoms of the earth for their hurt, to be a reproach, a proverb, a taunt, a curse in all the places whither I shall drive them, and I will send a sword. Read it again, this verse 10, Jeremiah 25:10. I will send a sword, famine, pestilence among them, till they be consumed from off the land that I gave unto them and unto their fathers. Ain't there something? So we're gonna the righteous fig, the good fig, he's gonna take them, he's gonna bring them out of here. But the ones that he leave, he's gonna go to work on them. Like I said, not JC. The God that brought the 10 plagues in Egypt, it ain't JC. Gotta understand that. God, what they did this right here with this good and bad feed, it ain't JC. And that same God is the one that's gonna deal with us now. Lord of hosts. JC ain't got nothing to do with it. Okay.
He is today. So automatically, they're up. And so early movers, they're securing the strongest positions and the strongest partners. They're locking in regulatory pricing and the positions of being associated with the things and the ways that they were before they shift. They're making a lot of reforms to immigration, right? The people that have entered in and gotten certain visas, those visas are going away this year. People that are taking action are able to benefit from that early action.
Okay, got anything on that so far, bro?
But Leonard, this is those companies you were talking about moving. I'm remembering now that I know the hand that's behind Torre, but I remember him saying that those companies are good to come set up headquarters in Burkina Faso too.
Exactly. They relocated. Same way they relocated from Great Britain to America, they relocating from here to Africa. They're setting up the same thing with same people gonna be in charge. These boule Negroes and them. But like I said, in between where we at now, the Lord of hosts gonna cut it off. But as far as they concerned, they think they can continue business as usual. Like the Bible says, when you understand it, thinking like a Hebrew, the fourth beast is gonna transform itself 4 different times. There's not no 10 men at the end that's gonna get itself over to the Antichrist. The Antichrist already came. Antiochus, Epiphanes. So reason why we still here, the world is still here right now, we fulfilling the prophecy in Daniel where the fourth beast is diverged from all other 3. It's transforming itself. The eighth beast was Britain, it transformed into America. The 9th beast, the 10th in transformation, we looking at it right now. Okay, so check this out. Oh, I'm tripping.
To invade Greenland. There's been a lot of talk about nuclear.
Whoa, 1 minute.
Wally?
Okay.
Live. What's up, family? Ever since the U.S. invaded Venezuela and threatened to invade Greenland, there's been a lot of talk about nuclear war. Primarily because we have a psychopath in the White House calling the shots. Yeah, fam. So people are concerned. They're concerned about the possibility of a World War III. Let me tell you straight up, fam. If the worst case scenario happened, there will be very few survivors. Very few. Now, these targets that have been identified were identified by Stephen Schwartz, author of Atomic Audit, The Cost and Consequences of U.S. Nuclear Weapons Since 1940. He identified 15 such targets. The targets mapped by Business Insider include command centers, ICBM bases, communication stations, and Air Force and submarine bases. Family, if something goes down, you don't want to be in these cities because they're likely to get hit first. Your safest bet is going to be somewhere in rural America.
Remember what I just read. about the good fig and the bad fig.
If you are to survive, if something like this goes down. Coming in at number 15 on the list, you might want to listen to this, fam. Make sure whether your city is on this list or not, you still need to be concerned, because nuclear war is well, you saw what happened to not to Pearl Harbor, but Nagasaki and Hiroshima. You saw what happened. So that was, oh man, that was horrible. It's going to be even worse now, because these chemicals and things that they're using today are, what are we, like 50, 60, 70 years more advanced? Yeah, fam. Yeah, it'll be really, really bad. Shreveport, Louisiana. The Shreveport Center is 5 miles from Barksdale AFB. Population density, 1,735 per square miles. 15 highest on the 15 city list. Evacuation rank, number 12, worst of the 15 cities. Projected casualties. This is the bomb hit its target. 24,150 deaths, 103,560 injuries. Let's go to Cheyenne, Wyoming, number 14, 3 miles from F.E. Warren AFB. Population density, 2019's square miles. 14 highest of the 15 cities. Let's see, evacuation rank, number 15. So this is the absolute worst. People in Wyoming pretty much don't stand a chance. Projected casualties, bombed over target, 27,320 deaths, 36,550 injuries projected. Great Falls, Montana, number 13, 6 miles from Maelstrom AFB. Population density, 2,614 people per square miles. Number 12, highest of the 15 cities. Evacuation rate, number 14 of the 15 cities. And the projected casualties, bombed over target, 17,920 deaths, 22,920 injuries. And it's worth 5. Population density, 8,304 per square mile. Number 6, highest of the 15 cities. Evacuation rank, number 6, worst of 15 cities. Projected casualties, bombed over target, 645,750 deaths, 1,622. Now actually 1,622,290 injuries. Area, New York City is a highly likely civilian target. Home to Wall Street, the city was already the target of several terrorist attacks, including 9/11 attacks that crippled the city for days. New York Stock Exchange closed for 4 days, its longest shutdown since 1933. Perhaps as a result, the city is far more prepared than most. Still, evacuating from Manhattan has proven to be very difficult. And number 1, if it ain't New York, you know it had to be Washington, D.C. Washington, Arlington, Alexandria, D.C., Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia, all of that, proximity 0 miles from the Pentagon. Population density, 11,281 per square mile. Number 4, highest of the 15 cities. Evacuation rank, number 5, worst of the 15 cities. Projected casualties, 461,240 deaths, 924,160 injuries. The nation's capital has more than one highly valued target, not the least of which is the Pentagon, the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense, which was already a target of the terrorist attacks on 9/11, the seats of the executive branch, the White House, and the legislative branch, Congress, are also highly likely to be attacked, along with such targets as the nearby CIA headquarters, about 30 miles southeast of the metro's outskirts, in the Calvert's Cliffs nuclear power plant, and about 60 miles southwest is North Anna's nuclear generating station. So it didn't mention the White House. Got to get the White House. If it's going to hit something, it's got to hit the White House. White House. I'm wondering, I just, just wondering. I wonder, is it a way for it to hit just the White House? I'm wondering, can they do that? Do they have the military capability to just hit the White House? I gotta look at it.
Okay. You got any feedback on that?
Shalom, brother. I would think they have the capabilities to just do that if they wanted to.
Oh yeah, exactly. You can start out and just hit it and then come back.
Right.
Exactly. All right. You got anything else? You any feedback on any of this information? Videos? You got anything? Yeah. Other than that, we'll pick a scripture and then we'll break that scripture down and we'll close out.
Yes, sir. Shalom, my brother Leonard. Can I go to Jeremiah? I go to Jeremiah 9.
Okay.
And yes, sir, and have you expound on this in Jeremiah 9, and this verses 23 and 24, sir. And it says my title over is Glory in Knowing the Lord. And it says, Thus saith the Lord, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might. Let not the rich man glory in his riches, but let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understandeth and knoweth me, that I am the Lord, which exercise loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth. For in these things I delight, saith the Lord. Now is Jeremiah 9, verses 23 and 24.
Right. Yeah. It lays out what I've been saying on this channel forever. It's not JC who we're dealing with. It's not JC that's the judge of the whole earth. It's the Lord of hosts. And you go to Genesis chapter 1 and verses 1 and 2, we see who it is. We see the Lord of hosts, and we see Yahweh, the God of the creator in verses 1, and then he has somebody with him. In verse 2, you got the Lord of hosts, which is Michael, that's moving on the waters. And he's the one that we're dealing with. He's the one that came to Egypt. And it's the 10 plagues. He's the one that came in the cool of the day to deal with Adam. And he's the one that came when Hezekiah prayed and came and destroyed 185,000 Syrians. He's the one that came in Genesis 18. And what they've done, when you understand how these people operate, they used Greek technique called typology. And then when they got hotel records during the time of Constantine and during the time of Bartholomew, and they redone our records to fit them. The Most High has a problem when the Book of Jubilees with the Gentiles, but they tell you the Lord of hosts, Yahweh, done brought the Gentiles in. And that's a lie from the pits of hell. You have a problem with the Gentiles. We see that all through Scriptures. And so when you understand that, you understand, like he just said, how you're gonna survive is him. When you know the real God, the real Redeemer of Israel, when you understand who he is. That's how you get out of this mess that these people have concocted. And it had nothing to do with JC. JC's a concoction. Okay? That make any sense?
Right, yes, sir. Lord of hosts, our true God.
Right, exactly. So yeah, so with that being said, I played this little video right here. I thought it was be good to play. Okay. Part of what I was just talking about.
Dropped anchor off the West African coast in 1471, they weren't prepared.
You got people that they read the scriptures, but they don't have a true understanding of the history of how everything had went down, and they come up with a different conclusion than the actual truth.
For what they were about to see. They had sailed thousands of miles expecting to find primitive villages, maybe some gold to trade, perhaps some stories to tell back home about exotic lands. What they found instead was something that would haunt European powers for the next 4 centuries.
This is in Africa.
They found a kingdom with paved streets wider than anything in Lisbon. They found a 4-story palace that dwarfed the royal residences of Europe. They found walls so massive, so impossibly long, that they would later be measured at 4 times the length of the Great Wall of China. The king wore silk and gold. His army numbered over 100,000 soldiers. His bronze workers created art so sophisticated that European museums would later refuse to believe Africans made it. So the Portuguese did what empires do best when confronted with a truth that threatens their entire worldview. They smiled, they traded, they took notes, and then, over the next 400 years, they worked with every other European power to systematically erase this kingdom from history. They burned it, they looted it, they rewrote the maps, and then...
So it didn't just start it didn't just start in Black Wall Street. They are way on the other side of the water. They were burning cities and erasing history. Okay.
They taught your grandparents and your parents and you that it never existed at all. This is the story of the Benin Empire, and this is the story of the greatest theft in human history. The year is 1485, and a Portuguese trader named João Afonso de Aveiro has just returned.
This before 1619.
From the coast of West Africa. He's writing a letter to his king, and his hands are shaking. Not from fear, but from something closer to disbelief. He describes a city he calls Great Benin, with streets so wide that multiple carriages can pass side by side. He describes the king's palace as being as large as the entire city of Haarlem in the Netherlands, with galleries and rooms decorated with polished palm leaves that shine like marble. He describes metalworkers creating bronze sculptures using a lost wax casting technique, so advanced that Portuguese artisans don't even understand how it works. He describes a kingdom that controls trade routes stretching from the Atlantic coast deep into Central Africa, a kingdom wealthy beyond European imagination, a kingdom with a sophisticated bureaucracy, standing army, and diplomatic corps. But here's the thing that de Aveiro doesn't write in his letter, the thing he perhaps doesn't even consciously realize yet. This discovery is a problem, a massive, civilization-threatening problem. Because in 1485, Europe is in the business of slavery. The Portuguese have already begun capturing Africans from coastal regions, shipping them across the Atlantic to work sugar plantations. And the entire economic and moral justification for this industry rests on one crucial lie, that Africans are primitive, incapable of civilization, barely human. It's a lie they tell themselves to sleep at night. It's a lie they teach in churches to get God's blessing. It's a lie they write into law to make it all legal. But the Benin Empire doesn't just challenge this lie, it demolishes it. If word gets out that there's a black civilization in Africa that rivals or surpasses European kingdoms in wealth, organization, and artistic achievement, the entire justification for slavery collapses. If Africans can build cities like this, create art like this, organize societies like this, then what right does Europe have to enslave them? So couldn't have managed such an engineering feat. This is the pattern of colonial archaeology. When you find something impressive in Africa, assume anyone but Africans built it. But walls buried under jungle and lies buried under propaganda have one thing in common. Eventually, they get uncovered. In the 1960s, archaeologists actually measure the Benin walls with modern equipment. The numbers are staggering. 16,000 kilometers of earthen fortifications, 4 times longer than the Great Wall of China. The engineering expertise required to plan and build such a structure implies a sophisticated understanding of mathematics, labor organization, and defensive strategy. There's no explaining this away. Carbon dating on the Benin bronzes confirms they were created by African artists in the 1300s and 1400s, long before significant European contact. Portuguese records hidden in archives in Lisbon are rediscovered, confirming everything De Veiro wrote in 1485 about Benin.
Okay. What you think?
Shalom, Brother Leonard. For me, doing my research on West Africa, when I found out, we came from Negro land, I see why they denigrated all of those cities, because all of those cities in the empires that we had over in West Africa, they were greater than the towns that our ancestors built over here in America. As far as, the Tulsa, Oklahoma, Seneca Village, Rosewood, all of those were great. But, the Benin Empire, the Songhai, and all that, the Ghana Empire, Mansa Musa in them empire, all of that stuff was greater than what we did in America. And so it makes sense why they would want to hide that history.
Exactly. Right. And that's the reason they start with the transatlantic slave trade. It's symbolical. It's like what's that word? Subliminal. Nobody, it's like I say, they started. There's a system in place. The B system been in place, and it's you got a 6-year-old kid starting out in head start, of a 5-year-old head start in kindergarten, and then he going to first grade. He don't understand this. So subliminally, all that's being wiped out. All you from what you've been told that your existence and your heritage, your lineage started with the transatlantic slave trade. So you can't, but now we know the Lord of hosts is at work now, and he's removing that obstacle. But for centuries and even now, Negroes, all they know is what the transatlantic slave trade. They should start with the transatlantic slave trade. And that was the purpose of that. Okay. Got anything else before we close out?
And yes, sir. I just say, Brother Leonard, just to that's exactly what I was taught in school, and that's what started my journey after I got out of school, trying to search our history. I just knew that we didn't start off as slaves like we couldn't have.
Right.
Yes, sir. It just didn't make sense, just with the natural gifts that we have, the way our people look, the way we can sing, and do everything else. It just didn't make sense to me.
Exactly. Oh yeah. And then, like I say, once you get the realization of that, now you go back, now you see why all these books are banned. And then the average Negro, he go right along with the program. That book banned. I don't want to deal with that. No, they got it banned because it's got your history in it from what was going on with you before the transatlantic slave trade.
Right.
Okay?
Sir.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom to everybody. I'll see y'all tomorrow. We have our reading through the Tanakh night. Starts at 7 and ends at 9 p.m. Central Time. I'll see everybody then. Shalom, shalom, and another shalom.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who the God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament in Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.